son. Hope you're enjoying your new BMW. The laughter at the table swelled, silverware clinking against plates, everyone smiling, except me. Because I didn't own a BMW. I didn't even own a car. I stared at him, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth. Grandpa, I said slowly, my voice cutting through the noise. I'm working 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. I've never even driven a BMW. The room stilled. My mother's glass stopped halfway to her lips. My sister's smile faltered, just a flicker. And then the truth landed, heavy as stone. When I pulled out the statements, page after page, every car payment, every insurance draft, it was all there in black and white. Every luxury bill tied neatly under my name. Every dollar siphoned away since 2019. All of it, feeding the machine that kept my sister behind the wheel of her gleaming white BMW. The silence was deafening. Forks lowered. Chairs creaked. Even my grandfather's face tightened, his hug now a cruel joke replaying in my head. My sister cleared her throat, voice too sweet, too rehearsed. It must have been a mistake. Banks mess things up all the time. But her eyes betrayed her. She knew. She'd always known. Mom shifted uncomfortably, pressing her napkin against her lap. I'm sure it's not as bad as it looks. But it was. It was worse. Because every late night I dragged myself home after a double shift, every time I skipped a meal to make rent, every debt call that stole the air from my lungs, it wasn't just bad luck. It was her. My name is Natalie Brooks. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Because what happens when family betrayal runs deeper than blood, and the bank itself calls to confirm it. That night, at 9:14 p.m., my phone rang. The number flashing across the screen wasn't a friend, wasn't a coworker. It was my bank. And what the voice on the other end told me changed everything. The voice on the line was calm, too calm, like they were reading me my own obituary. Ms. Brooks, we're calling to verify unusual activity on your accounts. Multiple luxury payments tied to your name are overdue. Unless arrangements are made, repossession will begin within 30 days. I gripped the phone tighter. What are you talking about? I don't own a BMW. I don't own anything like that. A pause. Keys clicking in the background. Ma'am, according to our records, you've been financing one since 2019. Monthly payments, full insurance coverage, all linked to your social security number. My breath caught. 2019, the year I picked up my 3rd job just to survive. The year my sister magically upgraded her life, pulling into driveways with leather seats and custom plates while I begged the landlord for extensions. And all this time, it was me footing the bill. Ma'am, the banker's voice pressed. You wish to dispute the charges? Dispute. As if this was just a clerical hiccup. As if 3 years of being bled dry could be undone with a form and a waiting period. Yes, I whispered, my voice trembling but sure. Dispute everything. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. I stared at the phone like it was a grenade I'd just pulled the pin from. The living room was dark, but I could still hear echoes of dinner. The laughter, the denial, the silence that followed when the truth bled onto the table. And above it all, my sister's face. Her smug little smile. Her lie wrapped in Mom's excuses. I opened my laptop, or what was left of it after years of wear, and began typing. Password resets. Statement downloads. Screenshot after screenshot piling up like ammunition. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This was about 3 years of being played as the fool. This was about respect stripped away and turned into debt. And for the first time in years, I wasn't powerless. By midnight, I had a folder so thick with evidence it could suffocate her dreams. Emails drafted, names listed, even my grandfather's attorney bookmarked. But it wasn't the evidence that kept me awake. It was the plan forming, sharp and unstoppable, threading itself through every key I pressed. My sister thought she had buried me under debt, but she had only given me the shovel. And tomorrow, I'd start digging her grave, one paper, one password, one truth at a time. Morning came like nothing had happened. Sunlight spilled across the dining room where my sister sat scrolling her phone, sipping orange juice from the crystal glass she loved to flaunt. She looked rested, polished, untouchable. And I sat across from her, dark circles under my eyes, a folder of evidence burning a hole in my bag. Grandpa entered, humming, his cane tapping gently against the floor. He gave her a kiss on the cheek before settling into his chair. "How's that BMW treating you, sweetheart?" he asked warmly. Her smile froze. Just for a moment. Then she laughed, light and careless. "It's perfect, Grandpa." Couldn't be happier. The words seared through me. Perfect. Happier. Paid for by my exhaustion, my double shifts, my empty stomach nights. I couldn't stop the laugh that slipped from my lips, low, bitter, sharp enough to slice. Everyone turned to look at me. "You think this is funny?" my sister snapped. I leaned forward, my voice calm. "No. I think it's pathetic." Her face flushed. "You're jealous. You always have been." But this time, I didn't flinch. Jealous of what? A car you couldn't afford, so you stole my name to fund it? Jealous of the lies you built while I worked myself half to death. The room went still. Grandpa's fork froze midair. Mom's lips parted like she wanted to speak, but no words came. I reached into my bag and dropped the folder on the table. Statements. Transfers. Insurance drafts. Every dollar stolen. Pages fanned out like a storm across the linen cloth. "This," I said, my voice steady, "is the truth. Since 2019, you've been living off me. Off my work. Off my life." Her hand shook as she snatched a paper, eyes darting over the proof. "Teach, this doesn't mean anything," she stammered. "It's just mistakes happen." "No." I cut in, sharp as glass. "Mistakes don't happen every month for 3 years." Grandpa's gaze darkened, his voice heavy as stone. "Is this true?" Silence. The only answer she could give. Her mouth opened, closed, but the words never came. And in that silence, I knew the pedestal she'd lived on her whole life had finally cracked. But the call I got last night wasn't just about stolen payments. It was about something far worse, buried deep in accounts she thought no one would ever find. And tonight, I was going to show them everything. That evening, I sat at my desk with the glow of my laptop burning into my eyes. The bank's words from the night before replayed, steady and merciless. "Ms. Brooks, there are additional accounts linked to your Social Security. Not just auto loans. Credit cards. Personal loans. Totals exceeding $74,000. $74,000. Debt so heavy it could crush me flat. Debt I had never touched, never even applied for." And every line item led back to one name. My sister's. I scrolled through the statements again, ball rising in my throat. Designer handbags. Flights. Hotel suites. Even spa memberships. All luxuries she paraded online as if success had dropped from the heavens into her lap. Meanwhile, I'd been drowning, working 3 jobs, skipping meals, begging landlords for time. She hadn't just stolen from me. She'd built her entire life on my back. At dinner, the weight pressed against my chest. Grandpa sat at the head of the table, silent but watching. Mom picked at her food. My sister twirled her fork like she was still in control. I let her have her moment, and then I laid down the bomb. "Funny thing," I said casually. The bank called again. Turns out the BMW wasn't the only thing in my name. The fork slipped from her fingers, clattering against the plate. "What are you talking about?" she snapped too quickly. I pulled my phone out, sliding it across the table. Screenshots glowed under the chandelier light. Transactions, accounts, balances. $74,000, I said. Vacations, jewelry, credit cards, all under my identity. Since 2019. Grandpa's eyes narrowed, his voice low and cold. "You've been stealing from your own sister?" Mom gasped, hand over her mouth. This can't be true. But the silence that followed was louder than any denial. My sister's face crumbled, her usual mask slipping. It wasn't like that, she stammered. I needed help, and she never. Help. I cut in, my voice sharp. Help is asking, not destroying someone's life while they work themselves to the bone. Grandpa slammed his hand against the table, the plates rattling. I will not have a thief in this family. Her lips trembled, but she had no defense. The room was no longer hers to control, and as the silence swallowed her whole, I knew this was only the beginning, because the bank wasn't the only call I'd made. Tomorrow, she'd wake up to something she couldn't explain away. The fallout started faster than I imagined. By morning, my sister's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She stumbled into the kitchen, mascara smeared, eyes hollow. Each vibration was another notification, another rejection, another door slamming in her face. At first, she tried to brush it off. It's just a mix-up, she muttered to Mom, waving her phone like it was a mosquito she could swat away. Banks make mistakes all the time. But the truth was louder than her excuses. Her so-called friends, girls who clung to her Instagram stories of champagne glasses and designer bags, had seen the screenshots I forwarded. Not anonymously. From my account, my name clear at the top. If she wanted war, she was going to know exactly who pulled the trigger. By noon, her followers list had thinned. Fraud. Fake rich. Stealing from family? Disgusting. She scrolled faster, her hands shaking. This isn't happening, she whispered. But it was. Grandpa didn't help her this time. He stayed silent, his face set in stone. Even Mom's defense faltered, her voice weak when she tried to soothe. People will forget soon. I almost laughed. People never forget betrayal. They savor it. At 2 p.m., her phone rang. Loud. Shrill. She snatched it up, her face drained as she listened. I don't understand, she stammered. No, I never applied for that. No, I didn't default. Wait, please. The call ended with her crumpling against the counter, her body shaking. What now? Mom asked, voice trembling. My sister's eyes darted to me, wide and furious. They're repossessing the car, she spat. They said if I don't pay immediately, they'll take it back. The BMW. Her crown. Her identity. The one thing she flaunted more than anything else. Mom gasped. Grandpa shook his head, disappointment heavy in his silence. And me? I sipped my coffee. That's what happens, I said softly, when you build a kingdom out of stolen bricks. Her fists clenched, nails digging into her palms. She looked like she might lunge across the table and claw me apart. But then her phone buzzed again. This time, the color drained completely from her face. She didn't scream. She didn't curse. She just stared at the screen, frozen. Because the bank had finally uncovered something even she didn't see coming. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. She just stood there, pale, shaking, lips parted but no words coming out. Mom bent down, picking up the phone. Her eyes scanned the screen, and when she read the message, she went still too. Natalie, she whispered, voice breaking. It's not just the car. I took the phone from her trembling fingers. The text from the bank glowed against the screen. Every word a nail in my sister's coffin. Final notice. Multiple accounts in default. Total balance, $74,000. Legal action pending. Identity theft investigation will proceed if no response within 7 days. The silence that followed was crushing. Grandpa's cane tapped once against the floor, slow and deliberate, before he pushed himself to his feet. Is this true? His voice thundered, shaking the air. My sister stammered, her eyes darting from him to me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean? Grandpa's face hardened, his voice cutting through her excuses. You stole your own sister's future to pay for your greed. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She reached out, desperate. Grandpa, please. But he pulled away, his jaw tight with disgust. You've embarrassed this family. And worse, you've destroyed her. He pointed at me, his voice rising. 3 jobs, working herself sick, while you pranced around in stolen luxury. Shameful. Mom opened her mouth to speak, but no defense came. Not this time. The weight of the truth was too heavy even for her to spin. And me? I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I simply let the truth breathe in the room until it suffocated her. This isn't about money anymore, I said quietly. It's about what you've done to me. To all of us. Her sobs turned sharp, jagged. You don't understand. I was supposed to be somebody. Everyone looked at me like I was special. No. I cut in, my voice steel. They looked at me like I was invisible, so you could shine. Grandpa sat back down heavily, his face pale, his verdict final. You're finished. Do you hear me? Finished. And for the first time in her life, my sister had no spotlight, no pedestal, no one left to shield her. But as she collapsed into her chair, broken and gasping, I knew she hadn't felt the full weight yet. Because tomorrow morning, she wouldn't just face debt collectors. She'd face the law. The knock came the next morning. Sharp, heavy, official. My sister scrambled to the door in her robe, mascara still smeared from the night before. Two men in suits stood tall on the porch, badges gleaming. Miss Brooks, one asked. We're here regarding a case of identity theft and financial fraud. You'll need to answer some questions. Her knees buckled. And no, you don't understand. It wasn't like that. I stood in the hallway, arms crossed, watching. The scene was everything I had imagined. Her mask slipping, her empire of lies collapsing in the doorway for all the world to see. Grandpa came to stand beside me, his expression carved in stone. Let them do their job, he said firmly. Mom rushed forward, panicked. Please, there must be another way. She's my daughter. She's a criminal. Grandpa cut in, his voice sharp. And she nearly destroyed her sister's life. The agent stepped inside, laying paperwork on the table, crisp and undeniable. Every fraudulent loan, every payment, every stolen dollar tied directly back to her. 3 years of theft. 3 years of deceit. Her voice cracked as she pleaded. I just wanted to live better. I just wanted. Better? I snapped, my voice low, steady. Better at my expense? Better while I starved and broke my back working 3 jobs? That's not better. That's theft. That's betrayal. She turned to me then, her face wet with tears, anger sparking through the cracks. You set me up. You wanted this to happen. I met her eyes, unblinking. No. You did this all on your own. I just stopped covering for you. Her breath hitched, her body trembling as one of the agents began gathering her personal belongings. Laptop, files, receipts. This isn't the end, she whispered, voice shaking. You'll regret this, Natalie. I'll make you regret it. But her words were hollow now, empty threats from someone who had already lost. As they led her outside, flashing lights washed across the windows. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispers buzzing like bees. Her pedestal was gone, her reputation shattered. Mom wept silently in the corner. Grandpa simply shook his head, disappointment heavy in his eyes. And me, I felt the calm before the final wave. Because this wasn't about humiliation anymore. This was about closure. And tomorrow, I deliver it. The house felt hollow after they took her away. No shouting, no laughter, no footsteps storming down the hall. Just silence. And in that silence, I finally heard myself breathe. Grandpa sat at the table, staring into his untouched coffee. Mom was across from him, head in her hands, tears dripping into her lap. For once, there were no excuses left to offer. I stood in the doorway, watching the morning light spill across the same floor I'd once dragged myself across after 16-hour shifts. The same floor where my sister strutted in her designer heels, smiling wide with money stolen in my name. It was over. But poetic justice isn't just about watching someone fall. It's about balance. It's about putting the scales back where they should have been all along. So I opened my laptop. The evidence folder, every screenshot, every statement, every receipt was already with the investigators. But I still had one last move to make. With a few clicks, I transferred the last of my paycheck into a new account. My name, my control. Not hers. Not anyone else's.
Mine.
And then, slowly, I began the process of untangling myself from the wreckage she left behind. Credit reports, fraud claims, legal filings. This time, my future wasn't in her hands. Grandpa looked up at me then, his eyes heavy but proud. "You're stronger than all of us realized," he said quietly. "She stole years from you, but she can't steal what you do next." I nodded, the truth settling deep into my chest. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was free. Later that day, I walked past her empty room. The walls were bare, the bed unmade, the vanity stripped of all the glittering lies she used to hide behind. And I realized something. Revenge isn't about ruining someone else's life. It's about reclaiming your own. She thought she'd buried me under mountains of debt, but all she really did was hand me the match. And I lit it, not to burn myself down, but to burn away the lies that had chained me for years. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just whispered to the empty room, steady and certain.